Okay, good to welcome everyone as we are heading into a spectacular Matzah Shabbos, as the plan is to have a quadruple header tonight, as we will learn two blat. We will finish Masechtas Ksuvas in the Mishnah Yomis, and we will do a chak. So tonight we really have a real ambitious plans. Hashem should give me the strength, and all of you the strength. We'll start right here, being dedicated by Avi Spry and family for the safety of the troops, for the safety of Klal Yisrael, and by Shimon Klein, Lili Nishmas, Asher Anshel, Ben Yehuda, and Gittel Bar Shimon Pinchas, by Irving Fishbaum, for the Fush Lema of Isser ben Reis and Eliezer ben Reisel, for Meir ben Chaya Sarah, and on this lovely evening, we are welcoming in Saba. We welcome in A.B. Spry, Stephen Holtzman, Mark Frankel, Yitzi Fuchs, Yisrael Fisher. I don't know what this gentleman's name is. I.A. Ben Sion Cohn is there, Irving Fishbaum, Mo Kushner, Michal, Nachum Umansky, Aaron Swade, Nachman Chaplin, Mel Zachter, Rabbi Kranz, Yitzi Muller, A. Barbach. Thank you. I got the batteries. Ilya Shutman, Abba Steinhauser, David Helfgott on Kol Loshin. We have here in Shul, we have Berish Gesserman and Rabbi Avram Rezepkovitz and Ruvain Shanit to start us off here this evening at the Agudas Yisrael Beis Zev of
my friend Yitzchak Asbel.
Yitzchak
From Toronto.
Yitzchak Asbel from Toronto. A very, very royal and warm welcome. First of all, I'll tell you that any friend of Yisrael's is a friend of ours, and it's great to have you aboard. We are holding on the bottom of Kufay Amid Beis, at the two dots, 5 lines from the bottom. Moshe Rami Bar Chama opens up the evening with a question. We learned, V'shekenegdoi choshid al hashvua. Normally, as we will learn tonight, the procedure is that one swears and doesn't pay. You don't swear and collect, but one swears and doesn't pay. However, an exception is where the one that's supposed to swear and not pay was not trusted to give a shvua, because either he was a gambler or a liar, or he swore falsely, or a thief. So the Gemara says, Ketzad, what's an example of a person who's choshid al hashvua, who is suspected of an oath? Of course, we know that Marshall is an example, but we're going to be more detailed than that. And Shimon Deer has joined us, Chaim Braun has joined us, as Eddie Chazan has joined us, as people are coming in here right under the wire. Shimon Klein has just joined us, Aaron Swade has joined us, Mo Kushner, and Richard Rosenzweig has joined us, and Aryeh Schechter has joined us. So we have already a very nice crowd here this evening. So the Gemara says, Ketzad, what's an example of somebody that's suspected a shvua, and therefore we shift the shvua to the one who swears and collects? Whether he swore falsely about testimony, swearing that he knows no testimony, and then we find out that he did. The echad shvus hapekadim, if he swears about a deposit, swearing that he doesn't have it. Va'afilu shvua shav, even a vain oath where he swears that a pillar of silver is a pillar of gold. Now the Gemara says, why do we have to come on to a shvuas pikad? Because v'im isa, if it's true what we have developed, that just simply, if Marshall denies about the deposit, I gave him a deposit and he denies it, he's already viewed as a robber, then why do we have to come on to a shvuah? Even without the shvuah, he would be disqualified. Even with a denial alone, he would be declared a robber and he would be disqualified. So it's Gemara Hakabamayas, where do we say that there has to be a shvuah? Dekoi ba'agam, that I gave Marshall the deposit of an animal, and I asked him, do you have it? And he says no. Technically, he's saying the truth, because it's in the marsh. And in such a case where it's in the marsh, he would only be disqualified if he made an oath. The lav kfiru, it's not a denial. It's just that he doesn't want me to say, hey, Marshall, why did you leave it in the marsh? Why aren't you taking care of it? The savar ishtamitnale, I'm going to just avoid him adazilno maisinale, until I go and bring it to him. Teda, you should know, the amrav idi baravin hakayfer b'milva, if one denies alone, kosher leidus, b'pikadain pasal leidus. If one denies alone, he's still kosher. In other words, if I say, give me the money that you owe me, and he denies it, he's kosher le'edus. Why? Because when he denies it, he doesn't have the money right by him right now, because a loan is given to be spent. But if he denies a pikadain, because it's something that should be in his house, I gave him a case, he has no right to spend it. Poselatus. Says the Gemara, V'ha'amar ilfa shvua kaina. It's only if you make an oath. Ilfa said that it was the opinion of Ilfa that if I ask Marshall, where's the Kaishel Elio, and he swears that he doesn't have it, so he acquires it, because once I accept the shvuah, so then he's off the hook, and he acquires the kais. But it's only where he makes a shvuah, aval kfira loikanya, but a denial does not accomplish that. So here you say that he's already labeled as a Rasha and can't give testimony even with a denial. So the Gemara says, "Hachanami dekaima ba'agan." So if he merely denies it when it's in the marsh, he doesn't acquire it, because there we say he just meant to push it off until he brings it from the marsh, and he's not exactly lying, because it's just not here in the house right now. Of course, if he swears, so then it says that when he swears, the owner accepts the oath, and once he accepts the oath, so then Marshall is exempt from paying. The Ibayasengma, or else we could say, my shvuah, excuse me, I got ahead of myself. I explained you the next pshat in Shvuah Kaina. Over here, when Ilfa said Shvuah Kaina, that means that once he takes an oath, he acquires it, that even if an oinus happens, he's responsible for it. But the Gemara asks, it seems to be, you said that a denial is the equivalent of a shvuah, so the Gemara asks, shvuah dekanya, he only becomes responsible for einsim if he makes an oath, avol kfira loikanya. Says the Gemara, yeah, that's where he denies it when it's not with him, it's in the marsh. So there he's technically telling the truth, he's just saying it's not with him, and he's saying it only to push it off until he recovers it from the marsh, that you shouldn't say, well, why did you leave it unprotected in the marsh? Hachanami the kaima bagam. The ibaya sema. There's a different shot in shvua kaina. Like I told you, my shvua kaina, kid Rav Huna, the Amar Rav Huna Marav, and this is going to be a big discussion tonight. Manali biyadcha. I say to Marshall, you have $100 of mine. V'halama ein lach biyadi, and he says I don't have it. V'nishpa, and he swears. V'ach kach bo edim, and then witnesses come and say that he has my $100. Potter. Now that's a very big chiddush. Marshall is potter from paying me $100. You know why? Because I already accepted the oath. The Torah says he should give me an oath. So I already accepted the oath. Shenema v'lokach ba'olav, and the owner accepted the oath. V'lo yishalim. Kaven shekiblu abalim shvua. Once I accept Marshall's oath, shuv ein mishalim moment. He doesn't pay money anymore. Now the Gemara is not going to sit with this well. It's actually a rather remarkable opinion that we're saying in the name of Rav, that Marshall had $100 of mine, and I say, where is it? And he says he doesn't have it. I say, take an oath. He takes an oath, and then even though witnesses come and say he has my $100, he doesn't have to pay it, because the Torah says you should accept an oath, and once you accept the oath, you don't get the money. So the Gemara is going to really going to bombard this statement, and we're going to at the end we're going to be left with Rav's statement in a much more limited field, in a much more limited area. But let's see as the Gemara develops this. Gufa, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav. Rav Huna said, name Rav, I say to Marshall, Manali biyadcha, you have $100 of mine. V'alav Amar Marshall, of course, as is Marshall, Ein lach biyadi klum, I got nothing. V'nishba, he swears. Ubo Edom, and then of course, two witnesses come and say that Marshall, they saw me give Marshall $100. Potter, Marshall doesn't have to pay, he gives me the nose. Shenema v'lokach ba'olav, the owner accepts the oath. V'lo yishalem. Kevin shekiblu ba'aleh shvua, ba'am shvua. Since I accept Marshall's oath, shuvei mishal mimam. So I'm a Rava. Rava right away wants to narrow Rav's halacha. Mistavra milsa de Rav b'milva. It's mistavra that Rav says that Marshall gets off the hook when he takes an oath by a loan. I gave him a loan of $100. Deloitte son it now because I gave it to him to spend, so he doesn't have my actual money. Avol pikadon. But if I give him a koshel aliyo to watch for me, and I say, where is it? And he swears that he doesn't have it. B'rishus de maryekai. He still has my koshel aliyo. How can we say that he could keep it? It's be'en. The theft is in his hands. How can we say just because he swore he could keep it? However, the Gemara says, "V'elakim by God, Amar Rav afilu b'pikadon." The Rav says his psak, even in the case of deposit, the chiksiv ka b'pikadon ksiv, the pasuk that we said, "V'lokach ba'olav v'lo yishalim," that's talking about a deposit. So Yosef Rav Nachman b'ka'amalo shmaitza. Rav Nachman is sitting, and he's saying over this teaching, which, as I said, it's quite a remarkable teaching. So here starts the assault. Rav Acha bar Ninumi asked Rav Nachman from the following case: Heichon pikdaini, Marshall, where's my deposit? Where's my koshel aliyo? Amalei of it. So Marshall says, I lost it. Mashbiachani, I put him to an oath that he lost it. V'amar amen, and he says amen, and accepts the oath. And witnesses testified that he ate it, so it was a chocolate-covered koshel aliyo. And witnesses said that he ate it. Mishalem es hakerem. He pays the principal. Hoida me'atzmai, if he confessed alone. Now remember, he's not paying kefil over here because he didn't say it was stolen. He said it was lost. So he pays the principal. Hoida me'atzmai, if he admits it on his own. So since he swore falsely, Mishalem Karen v'chay mishvashim, he pays the principal a fifth and a guilt offering. So here you see that we don't say that he's potter from paying because he took an oath, and I have to accept the oath. It says in the pasuk v'lokach ba'ilem, I accepted the oath. V'lo misham, you see, you don't say that. Says the Gemara, that's because he didn't make an oath in court. The only oath that will exonerate him afterwards from paying is an oath in court, a court-administered oath. He took an oath outside of Bezdin. So he said, I asked Marshal, where's my deposit? It's stolen. I put you to an oath, and witnesses testify that he stole it. If he admits himself, now the only time he would pay kefil is if it's a court-administered oath. There wouldn't be kefil. So the Gemara answers, first the Gemara says, I could have answered that the Reish is talking about where it was outside of court, and the Seif is talking about where it's inside court. I don't want to answer that. But both are talking about where it's in Bezdin. The Reish is talking about where before Bezdin asked Marshal to swear, Marshal swore on his own. So since before Bezdin asked Marshal to swear, he swore on his own, that's why it's not considered a court-imposed oath. And therefore that's why he has to pay, and the oath doesn't get him out of paying. The Sefer is talking about where he didn't jump, and it was court-imposed, and that's why he pays kefil. Like kasha kam mikafats, kam mishaloi kafats. Amalei Rami Bar Chama Rav Nachman. So Rami Bar Chama asked Rav Nachman, Michtei, the Rav lo yisvirla. You don't hold of Rav's rule that when you swear, you get off the hook from paying. So mashkunei nafshech ad Rav lamalach. Why are you doing so much somersaults to answer for Rav? So Rav Nachman said, because Rav is a big man. We have to understand what Rav was thinking. Amalei lefrusha l'Rav. The Rav hachim entaretz l'masnis, and this is the way Rav explains. You know, Rav is a big man. We have to understand how he learned. So the Gemara says, but how could you argue with Rav? Well, Rav Krokamer, he says, he quotes a pasuk. The pasuk says, "V'lokach bailim," that once there's a shvua, v'lo yishalim, you don't pay. Imrei, he says, no. This pasuk is telling you the rule that we introduced at the beginning of the shir. This pasuk is telling you the rule that the norm is that you swear and you don't pay. It's not that you swear and you collect. The rule is that the onus of the oath is put on the defender, and that he swears and he doesn't pay. That the norm is in all the court-opposed oaths, that comes to tell you, that you have to accept the oath, and then the defendant doesn't pay. Misha olav l'shalem, the defendant, who nishba, he's the one that swears. So again, the Gemara continues its assault on Rav. Mosiv Rav Amnuna, hishbia olav chamisha pa'amim. If we impose, as we welcome in Gedalia, it's great to have you, Gedalia. Gedalia, we are holding on Daf Kuv Vav and Aleph, and we are holding 12 lines from the beginning of the wide lines. 12 lines from the beginning of the wide lines as we're just getting underway on what we will call a super Motzei Shabbos. A super Motzei Shabbos.
That was last week.
Well, it depends who you are.
I'm the thief who doesn't stop swearing.
We know that. That's what I said. Masav Rav Amnuna. Thank you for being very cooperative, Marshall. Masav Rav Amnuna, and a very well dressed thief you are tonight.
Stole the suit from Frankel.
Well, either was from that or Marshall's. Now, Masav Rav Amnuna. Rav Amnuna asks, Hishbia alav chamisha pamin. If Marshall swears 5 times, bein bifnei bezdin, bein shaloi bifnei bezdin, whether it's in the presence of bezdin or shaloi bifnei bezdin, the kafar alav, and he when he issues, and he issued a denial for each time.
He swore falsely.
He swore falsely, yeah. That's Marshall. Gedalia is surprised.
No, but it's a London way of saying it. He denied it. Kafir means to deny. It doesn't mean you swore falsely.
No, denying means that he denied my claim that he has my thing.
But he didn't actually swear?
He did.
So why did it say he swore that he didn't have it, instead of saying he denied it?
No, first it says that he was imposed an oath 5 times.
Right.
And what did he do? The kafar alav. In his oath, he denied having it. So, chayiv al kol achas v'achas. He's chayiv for each and every oath. Amar Rav Shimon. Why? Matam. Hoyo v'yachal la'azer l'hoides. In between each oath, he could have went ahead and admitted that he did it, and he would have had to pay. So therefore, each shvuah was about money, and therefore he's chayav for each shvuah. But wait a second. We said that once he swears, he doesn't have to pay. Because once I accept the oath, he doesn't have to pay. And you can't say, V'hacha kafatz loy matzis amrit. You can't say that he jumped. It wasn't that the court imposed it, because hishbia lav ketani. And you can't say chutz lebezdin loy matzis amrit, because it says here both b'fnei bezdin and shalai b'fnei bezdin. So it's b'fnei bezdin ketani. So the Gemara says you're right. We're going to have to split it up. Rav Amnuna asked the question, and he answers the question. Let's stud in ketani. We're not going to read it all as one case, but we're breaking it up into 2 sides. Hishbia alav, if it's imposed by the court, it's when it's chutz lebezdin. And ubebezdin, it's talking about where kafatz, where Marshall jumped and made the oath himself. Masav Rava. So Rava says again, we're Balabaya sheton tanis ganav bepikad. I asked Marshall, where is my Kaishal Elyo? He was a Shomer China.
I got it here.
Right? Where's my? That's not mine. Mine's bigger than that. Nice try. So Balabaya sheton tanis ganav bepikad. Marshall says that it was stolen. V'nishba, and he swore. V'hoida, and he admitted. Ubo edim, and witnesses came. Imad shaloi bo edim hoida, if before witnesses came he confessed. So Mishalem Karen v'chay mishvashim. He has to pay the principal, the 5th, and the guilt offering. V'imishabo edim hoida, and if it's after the witnesses come, Mishalem tashlomei kefil, he pays kefil, and because he swore falsely v'ashim. Now here you can't say that it was chutz lebezdin, v'acha chutz lebezdin b'kafetz leimatzah summit, because we wouldn't administer kefil. Since kefil ketani, so it had to be in bezdin, and it was caught in pose. And yet it says that if before the Eidim comes, he admits, he has to pay the principal. But we said that once I accept according to Rav, we said that once I accept the shvuah, v'lokach bolav, once I accept the shvuah, v'lo yishalem, Marshal doesn't have to pay. So here now the Gemara is, as I told you, we're going to redraw this. We're going to redraw the whole thing. Ela Amar Rava says, Kol hoida, if Marshal admits, Loishna toyin tanis avid, it makes no difference if he claims it was lost. The Loishna toyin tanis ganav, Loy Amar Rav. Rav didn't say he's off the hook, even though he took an oath. That's a perish pasuk. Dok siv his vada. It says that if he confesses, the boy shlume karen v'chaimish, he has to pay the principal and a fifth and bring an ashim. So it can't be that just because he swears, he's off the hook. Toyin tanas ganav, and if he claims that it was stolen, ubo edim, and witnesses came, he can't be off the hook. Nami lo yamarab. Why? Because dog siv tashlume kefil. In that case, it's kefil. Oh. So where did Rav say it? It's only in a very narrow case where I ask Marshall, where's my Kaishel Elio? And he says it was lost. He swears and then he confesses. So by Toyin Tainus Ovad, where he swears and then he confesses, then he doesn't have to pay. Ki kama, when does Rav say his rule? Ki gain shetoyin tanas ovid, Marshall says the Kaishal was lost. V'nishba, v'loy hoida, he didn't confess. Ubo edim, and then witnesses come and say that he has it, there is where I have to accept the shvuah. So that really restricts and narrows Rav's statement to only one case. Let's get the case that it narrows Rav's statement to. Only the case where I give Marshall my kos shalayo to watch. I say, where's my kos? He says it was lost. He took a shvuah that it was lost. He doesn't confess. Witnesses come and says that he has it. In that case, he doesn't have to pay. Because since I accepted the oath, he doesn't have to pay. So also Rav Gamda went, V'amra Shmaitze, the Shmaitze Kamei de Rav Ashi, and he said this over before Rav Ashi. Amalei, so he says, Hashta Umra Rav Hamnuna Talmidei de Rav. Madach Rav Hamnuna, the disciple of Rav, the Yoda de Amar Rav Hoida, and he knew that Rav said this din even when a marshal confesses, because when he asked about the case of the 5 shvuas, the kamoisiv Hoida, because he says he's chayiv 5 times because he could confess in between. The at amrit, and you want to say that hoida lo yama Rav, that Rav doesn't say his din where Marshall confessed. Says, you're learning wrong pshat in Rav Hamnuna. No, Rav Hamnuna also holds that Rav holds if he confesses, Marshall has to pay. That's a ferish pasuk. His svada, you have to pay the keren v'chaimish v'ashim. No, you're learning wrong thing. What Rav Hamnuna meant. Amalei Rav Acha Sabal Rav Ashi Rav Hamnuna Hachi Kakashalei. This is what was bothering Rav Hamnuna. Bishloi me'i amrit nishba ki asu edim mechayev, that where Marshall takes an oath, if when witnesses come, then Marshall is still chayev. Imtu lahachi mechayvina like carbon ashvur batraisa. That's why he's chayiv a carbon for each shvua, because the second shvua is adding something. Because he would be chayiv if Eidim come in the interim, so there would be a chiyuv money if Eidim come in the interim. So therefore, when he swears again, it's on a claim of money. Each time he could have retracted. But if witnesses come, he would be pater, because once he swears, he doesn't have to pay me anything. So then there's no claim of money. You'll say, but he could have admitted, but Lamai says he didn't admit yet. So that means that there's no claim of money now. And we should make him chayiv if he makes another carbon, because he could have testified, he could have confessed, but so there was no shvua on a claim of money. Again, let me explain what Rav Amnuna was bothered by. Rav Amnuna was saying that if it's true that after Marshall swears, if Eidim come, he's not chayiv to pay, so then that means that there is no now drara de mamayna. There's no monetary issue now, because Marshall is off the hook. He gave a shvua. He's part to pay, and therefore when he swears again, it shouldn't be on a matter of money. You'll say that even according to Rav, if he confesses in the interim, he'd have to pay, but he didn't confess. So right now, it's not a davar shebamammon. It's not something. So the second shvua shouldn't mean anything. So the Gemara answers, yes. By Toyin Tanas Ganav, if Eidim come, Marshall would have to pay. The only time Marshall doesn't have to pay, if he doesn't confess, is by Toyin Tanas Ovid. That's the restricted case where Rav says is halacha. Now, this is a new statement. Reb Chia bar Abba says in the name of Reb Yochanan, "Hatoyin tanis ganav b'pikadon." This is another big kiddush. Here I give Marshall my kaishel elio, and Marshall claims it was stolen. Mishalim tash. No, in this case, I gave Marshall my sheep. So, Hatoyin tanis ganav b'pikadon. If he claims it was stolen, and Eidim come and say that he has it, Mishalem Tashlumei Kefil, he pays double. Tavachu Machar, if he slaughters or sells it, so Mishalem Tashlumei Bava Kama Daf. Now, the chiddush over here is, the din of Dal V'Hei is by a thief. Here, Marshall isn't a thief, I gave it to him as a deposit, he just claims it was stolen. But we're saying that Rabbi Yochanan is saying that after claiming that it's stolen, if he goes ahead and slaughters it or sells it, if it's a sheep, he has to pay 4. If it's an ox, he has to pay 5. Now, Rabbi Yochanan proves this by an analogy. Since a thief pays kefil, and Marshall claims it's stolen, also pays kefil. If he's tavach u'macher, if he slaughters it or sells it, where Marshall claims it was stolen by deposit, in the event that tavach u'macher, if he slaughters it or sells it, so the Gemara says it's not a good analogy. And we welcome in Sandy Grunfeld joining us for a super Matzah Shabbos. So the Gemara says, excuse me, but it's not a good comparison. Because again, if Marshall pays kefil as a thief, even if he doesn't swear. But by Toyin Tanas Ganav, he only pays kefil if he swears. So the Gemara says, Malad Ganav, shekain misham tashlumei kefil shaloi b'shvua. Timer b'taimenis tainis ganav, when he claims that it was stolen from him, there he only pays kefil shein misham tashlumei kefil b'shvua. So you cannot make an analogy and say, therefore, he should also pay dal v'hei if he slaughters it or sells it. Says the Gemara, Imrei Hekeshu. We know that Hekesh means that the two subjects, Ganiv and Toyin Tanis Ganiv, are written in juxtaposition in the Torah. And even though you have a kasha, you don't ask a kasha on a Hekesh. So the Gemara says, well, where is Toyin Tanis Ganiv and Ganiv written next to each other? So the pasuk says im lo yemotzi aganav, and the pasuk says also im yemotzi aganav. So the Gemara says bish hani kalamandi amachad beganav v'chad b'toyin tanis ganav. Then in the pasuk when it says im lo yemotzi aganav, that's talking about where he's toyin tanis ganav, and im yemotzi aganav is talking about a ganav, so it's put next to each other. Then shaper, then there's a hekesh. Elamandi Yomer, Hi Im Yemotzi Aganav, Im Lo Yemotzi are both talking about Toyin Tanis Ganav, and why you need two psukim that we learned earlier in the Masechta. Travayo b'Toyin Tanis Ganav, so you don't have a hekesh between Toyin Tanis Ganav and a regular Ganav. Mai Kilamemer says Imre Ganav Ha Ganav. We learn out Ganav from the extra hay, so therefore, since it is included a regular Ganav in the parsha of Toyin Tanis Ganav, so they're written in close juxtaposition. So here, Rabbi Yochanan, we're going to again attack this rule that Rabbi Yochanan set up. Let's go over Rabbi Yochanan's rule. Rabbi Yochanan says that Marshall, when I ask him where the deposit is, where the sheep is, he says that it was stolen. If he then goes ahead and sells it or slaughters it, he's chayiv to pay dalet. So now the Gemara asks a cool question. I ask Marshall, where's my shar? Nignav, he says it's stolen. Mashbiachani, I put you to an oath. V'amar amein, and he says amein. And witnesses testify that he eats it. Mishalem tashlumei kefil. Now here, this is a clever question. Witnesses say that Marshall eats it, he pays kefil. But wait a second, how could he eat my ox unless he slaughters it? And yet you see he only pays kefil, he doesn't pay dalet. So that's a kasha on Rabbi Yochanan. According to Rabbi Yochanan, if he slaughters it, he has to pay dalet. Tavachamacher, he has to pay dalet the hay. So the Gemara says, he can't even have a kazayas of ox beef below shrita. V'kitani misham tashlumei kefil, and he only pays kefil. Tashlumei kefil in, tashlumei arba v'chamisha loy. So you see that by Toyin Tanis Ganav, there isn't a din of dalet the hay. So the Gemara answers, we're talking about Marshall. He ate it without shchita. Right? I mean, you know Marshall, when he has, you think all those franks that he eats are kosher, if he has kosher. But otherwise, what can we do? Right? Right? So, says the Gemara, I'm sorry, Marshall, I shouldn't be telling them. But,
I shechted every single frank before I ate it.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's for sure nevela. Says the Gemara, welcome Shelley, says the Gemara, so the Gemara says, why do you have to say he ate it in a nevela? I mean, say that he shechted it, but it became a treifa. Says the Gemara, no, that wouldn't answer it, because Reb Meir holds shchita she'eina ru'ya shma shchita. Reb Meir dam shchita she'eina ru'ya shma shchita, and then it would be a good shchita. He would still be mechayev dalet. In the case of a shor, he would be mechayev hay. So the Gemara says, "Well, lishnei lei beben pikua." Wow, the Gemara is getting desperate over here. Answer that Marshall stole sometimes, it's a rare case, but sometimes you shecht the mother, and inside, when you shecht the mother, there's a live fetus. And that live fetus you could eat with the shechita of the mother. So say Marshall stole a ben pekua, and since it was covered by the shechita of the mother, so that's why he's only chayiv kefil, because he didn't have to slaughter it. Says, no, Reb Meir, it's going according to Reb Meir, Dama ben pekua toin shechita. That a ben pekua that's finished in its mother's womb is not covered by the shechita of the mother, but rather it needs its own shechita. V'lishnei let the Gemara answer, kigon she'amad b'din. It's where Marshall was in court. V'amaloi, and they told Marshall, say tein loi, go and pay Rabbi Weiss. If they told him already, go pay Rabbi Weiss, then when he shechts it, he's a gazlan, because he's defying openly a psak of the court. And when you defy openly a psak of the court, you don't pay dollar v'hei. A gazlan doesn't pay dollar v'hei. Only a ganav pays dollar v'hei. So the Gemara says, "V'lishnei like kigayin she'amad b'din, v'amalei tzei tein loi," and they told him, "Go give Rabbi Weiss the money." The Amar Rava tzei tein loi, where it's a definitive verdict, go and pay him. Tavach u'macher pater. If he slaughters it and sells it afterwards, he's pater, because then he's a gazlan. My time it came in the pus gave him milsa, since they gave him an open psak. V'tavach u'macher, he's a gazlan. Have a gazlan. The gazlan like mishalem tashlumei abba v'chamisha. Gazlan doesn't pay 4 or 5. Chayev atalitin. Like if they don't tell him definitively, go and give it. They don't issue the final summons. They just say, you're responsible to give it to him. V'tavach u'macher chayev. My time, because kol kama doloi psikalei l'milsa. If the court doesn't give an open verdict, akati ganavu, he's still a thief. So the Gemara says, well, there's another answer that the Gemara could have said. As we welcome in Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg for our 30th Zoomer of the evening. There's another answer, and that's where Marshall stole it together with his colleague in crime, Eddie. He stole it together with Eddie. They stole it together, but only Marshall shechted it. Eddie wasn't planning to shecht it. In that case, Marshall would have to pay half of dollar v'hei. And the din is, you don't pay half in dollar v'hei. You only pay dollar v'hei, not half. And therefore, it could have said that that's why where Marshall ate it, he doesn't have to pay dollar v'hei. It gave one of 2 or 3 answers. It gave the Marshall ate it in Nevela. He's a crook, he ate it in Nevela, and therefore there was no shechita, and therefore he only pays kefil. What do you want to ask?
So when we said the Edom were made that he ate it, don't most people learn as lavdavka he ate it means he appropriated it to himself?
No, here it means he ate it.
In this case, it means
he ate it.
And
ate it has a significance because then he's chayiv dal v'hei.
I mean, the Gemara seems to be getting away from that anyway.
No, so it's telling you that even so, even though they said he ate it, what are you asking? And here it means he ate it. They asked him, he ate it. And if he ate it, why isn't he chayiv dal v'hei? The answer is he ate it as an avela. As we welcome in Moshe Bunin joining us. Just getting underway on a very, very special Matzah Shabbos. I don't know, did I ever do on a Matzah Shabbos 2 blat, mishnayos, and a chak? I'm not sure. But it's a wonderful thing to do. I was thinking to myself that, in the olden days, in the good old days, when I had a Shabbos Hagadol drasha, or a Shabbos Shuvah drasha, I gave a double daf in the Agud of Staten Island, then I gave a Shabbos Shuvah drasha, and then I got in the car and I gave the double daf again in Borough Park. So I also gave a lot of shiurim, one after another. But doing 2 blat and mishnayos and the chak is a nice thing to do on the Motzei Shabbos. It's a good way to start off the new week. Now, and this is quite an involved daf. V'amar Reb Chia bar Abba Amar Reb Yochanan, Hatoyin tanis ganav ba'aveda. If Marshall claims that the Kaishel Eliyahu was lost, Mishalem Tashlumei Kefil, he has to pay double. My timer, because the Chsiv al Kol Aveda, for any lost article, Asher Yomer, that he makes a claim. So Eisvei Reb Abba bar Mamel Reb Chia bar Abba Ki Yitein Ish. Here's an interesting thing. The din is, who gives the Kais Shel Eliyahu to Marshall to watch? So the pasuk says Ki Yitein Ish, only if he's given to it by a man, by an adult. Ein Asina Cotton Klum, so that if a minor gives it to him, and then he claims that it was lost, he's not going to be chayiv. Ve'ein li'ela shenosnu kishu cotton, when the one who gave it was a minor when he gave it, utfo kishu cotton, and he demanded it back when he was a minor. Nisana kishu cotton, utfo kishu gadol minayin. How do we know if Chatzkel was a minor when he gave it, but he claimed it back when he was an adult, that even so Marshall is potter? Talmud Leimer ad ho'elihim yavai dvar shneim. To the judge there comes the words of both of them, and we darshan that he has to be the same, the claimant has to be the same at the time of the giving and at the time of the claiming. But if the din is that Marshall is chayiv kefil, even if it's a lost article, what's the difference if it's a lost article or if it was given by a cotton? Even if we say that giving is not giving, but it shouldn't be any different than if he found it on the street. V'im Isa, if he has to swear and he has to pay kefil even with a lost article, to having nami kaveda, if he gets it from a minor, it should be like he picked it up in the street. When he picked it up in the street, nobody gave it to him, and he's still chayiv. Amalei, so the Gemara says, Hacha b'mayaskinan, here it's talking about kigayin she'achalai, and here we are using achila in the way that Gedalia meant it. Here it's talking about where he consumed it, whether it's a food, whether it's whatever it is, kishu cotton, where he was still a minor. So the Gemara says, but if he consumed it when he was an adult, then he would be chayiv, because then it would be like a lost article. Avakishu gadol mai hachanami de mishalim. So then ihachi adetana achetei nesina utvia shavin keachad, that it has to be that the nesina and the claim have to be at the same time. Lisnei achetei achilo utvia shavin keachad. It has to be that the consumption and the claim is at the same time, because as long as he's an adult at the time of the consumption, Marshall is going to be chayiv. So the Gemara says, okay, you could amend it to say that. Amalei tani achetei achilo utvia shavin keachad. Rav Ashi says no. I have a different teretz. The case of a lost article is different. Rav Ashi amaloi dami aveda ka'asya mikayach ben das. When Marshall found the aveda, it came into his rishus from somebody that is an adult. It came into the rishus. Marshall picked it up. He was a bardas when he picked it up. Here, v'haloi asya, but if the minor gives it to him, it didn't come mikayach ben das, and therefore that's why he would be potter. That we learn out from the fact that the pasuk says ish. Okay, we're just going to stop to change the channel. Don't go anywhere, Rabbi Isai.